and welcome to my channel Inspiring Life Changes. This is the second part of the full moon in Scorpio video. This is the actual tarot reading part. Yesterday I did the astrology read and I was hoping to get it uploaded yesterday, but it got to 95%, and usually it goes from 95% to being done. But this time it went from 95% to being dead. It was just nothing there. So I had to reload it all again today. So it's now up online, but it's kind of pushed everything back because I was hoping to get this done by yesterday and up today. But unfortunately, it hasn't worked out that way. And today's my birthday as well, so I've got an excuse and I'm going to stick with it. But I thought I'd better get on and get it out there, seeing as it was the full moon yesterday. But I did set the cards out yesterday, so it was the time of the full moon that I set them out. So I do like to do it on the actual day of the full moon because I like to kind of pick up on the actual kind of frequencies and vibrations and the energies of the full moon itself. So although the whole reading hasn't been done, the main bulk of the reading has been laid out already. And I would just like to say thank you to my new subscribers and thank you to anybody who has liked up my videos. I really do appreciate it. I see the one that I put out, the astrology video that I put out, has been thumbed up. So if you're watching this video as well, thank you very much for doing that for me. That's a really big help as it gets it out into the bigger YouTube world, and then more people can watch it and come back and visit my channel and maybe take a look at my other videos as well. So like I said, my astrology video for the full moon in Scorpio is up on my site now. So if you haven't checked that out yet, you might want to do that. So I'm going to dive in to the tarot reading part of this full moon energy, and we'll see where it takes us. So we start the reading with this card today. I'm not going to pull a major arcana oversight card. We do just have this card, which is the same card as I had yesterday, the Scorpio, the full moon in Scorpio card. And it is really all about releasing negativity, releasing that baggage that has been buried deep down inside of us. And if you watch my astrology reading, you will hear me talk about that quite a lot during the read, because that was the kind of major energy and is the major energy for the month that we're going to be going through up until the next full moon, which will be taking place, of course, in Sagittarius. So that's the energy that we're dealing with, releasing. Okay, so we have this princess here, the Princess of Pentacles, relates to the Knight of Pentacles. And so she is a slow moving energy, the princess. It's an energy of stability, of being grounded, of really working on the value of something, seeing the value of something, holding on to the value of something. And the sun being in Taurus at this moment in time, which was opposing the Scorpio full moon, is very much about the value, about our earth, about our environment, about the physical realm in general, really, which is the Taurus season, is very much the physical world. It's to do with the senses, the five senses, the sensuality of things. Taurus likes the good life. So this card represents this energy for me. But I also see her today as somebody who's kind of looking into the pentacle in a way of kind of asking herself, what is the value that's actually stored within it? As in, not monetary wise, but what is it that she can achieve with it? What is it possible to grow into? How can she make it more abundant for her and more grounded in the real. And it's covered by the Two of Staves here. Two of staves, rods, wands, fire, creative energy. So this is asking us, as a challenge at this time, to kind of take this energy here and create something with it, create something new. And I think that's what I was kind of picking up on with this energy here, the way she's looking into it. It's almost like looking into a crystal ball somehow and kind of looking for a way forward, wanting to go forward with it, wanting to take it into the future to create more. So that's our challenge at this moment in time. See, she's kind of looking out into the future as well. Her back is turned towards us. She's got these two staves here. And she's kind of trying to work out what it is that she wants to do. She has an idea. An idea has kind of been formulating, because it's after the ace. The ace is the new energy that comes in, and the two is the next step after the ace. So it's kind of saying to us, right, okay, the new has been planted, the new seed of creativity has been planted, and now it's up to us to actually take that seed and do something else with it. Because this is a collective reading. It also works on an individual level as well. But collectively we are being given a new way of moving forward. And I think also with this princess here as well, there's a lot of this going on at the moment because of the way that the world is right now. And the fact that we aren't just being able to be as kind of, what's the word, as kind of easygoing with our money, with our finances, with it is that we what we have. And so we're having to kind of make it go further. We're having to kind of be more careful with it. Having to kind of find new ideas, new ways maybe of even doing things. And it may also have something to do with the fact that when this is over, there could be a lot of people kind of looking to the future in a new way and kind of thinking of new ideas of what they can do now with their lives. They may not want to go back. And talking of going back, we actually have in the headspace, what we're aware of at this moment in time is the Six of Cups. And the Six of Cups is always a card of nostalgia. It's a card of looking back over the past. Past experiences that we've had, our childhood, growing up. And I think this is really relevant at the moment. I think there's probably a lot of this going on at the moment. People kind of looking back at how things have changed from when they were growing up to how they are today, particularly the older generation. So there is a nostalgia and a kind of melancholy about this card. And it could even be, like, it doesn't even have to be the older generation. It can be any generation, because it can be about the realization that we are kind of moving into a different way of being again. And there is this kind of wanting things to be the way they were, or trying to hold on to things and keep them in the same kind of emotional space. because it is cups, it does relate to the water, the emotional energy. It very kind of can relate to Scorpio full moon in the sense of it bringing up the past, as I was talking about, with this kind of clearing out of this negative energy as well. There can also be a sense of looking at the past with kind of rose tinted glasses and seeing things from a kind of softer view than we would have done previously, and a kind of longing for how things could have or have been and how they could return to being. But this card here is saying that that's not going to happen, because this is the Tower, and the Tower energy has come in and wiped everything away, and still is wiping everything away. And this is what's in our head, and this is what we are aware of. And astrologers have been talking about this for a long, long time. If you've been listening to astrologers over the last year, 2 years, year especially, astrologers have been talking about this conjunction that happened in January. I keep talking about it. I won't stop talking about it. It's something that is such a huge event and is still having ongoing effects. And it will do. It's going to continue, especially as Pluto has now gone retrograde, which I talk about in my astrology video as well, if you want to check that out. I talk about Pluto going retrograde. I talk about how Venus is about to go retrograde as well in Gemini on the 13th or the 12th. It stations retro on the 12th and actually goes retrograde on the 13th. And we also have Saturn about to go retrograde. In fact, Saturn goes retrograde the day previous to that. I think it's the 11th. And then after that, on the 14th, we also have Jupiter. So the three major planets that were involved in this conjunction on the 12th are still so tightly knit together that the conjunction is still, even now, in place. Yeah, they haven't really moved away from each other because they're such slow moving planets. And even though Saturn left and went into another sign, it's still bringing this Tower energy in. This Tower energy here is what is kind of, we are becoming more and more aware of it, I think, as we look around the world and we see that things are crumbling, things that our establishment, the things that we kind of have trusted in our lives, the things that have always been there in our lives, the things that we always thought would be there in our lives are no longer there for us to kind of lean on, or the word I'm thinking of, or kind of, what is the word I'm thinking of here? Not just lean on, but just like always going to be there. Can't think, the words escaped my head. So in this card, this is a very tragic story actually. It's a very tragic story. These two women are holding their babies, but they upset the naga, or the snake-like creature that lives in the lake, by accidentally spilling a drop of their menstrual blood into the water. And so the snake comes up and it kind of eats them and their babies. But they do manage to escape out of the belly of this snake. So it talks of oppression. And for me, the Tower energy is about oppression. It is about us kind of building that structure around ourselves as we go through life and we experience things. And it's like we get to a point in our lives, and this is happening collectively, this is happening globally, this is something that is happening in such a huge way. This isn't just about us as individuals. This is about us as a human race and our story, and where we have got to, this kind of very small prison-like containment in many ways. And you can see it more and more. And even now, those that govern, that are losing their control, because this is what is happening. It's a top-down crumbling of the establishment, and they know it. They know what's happening. That they're trying to hold on even tighter. They're trying to put even more rules and more regulations in place and stop us even more. And not just because of the health issue, shall we say, that's covering the planet at this moment in time. But also because they know on a larger scale that they are losing their power. And that's what this is talking about here. This is about losing its power. So the snake in many ways kind of represents to me the power structure. And these two women kind of represent, and their children, represent the human race that is trying to kind of break free after being swallowed up. The need to break free, to break out, to break through something. That's what the Tower talks about. And so the energy that's moving away from us, that's been around for a while, is the Six of Staves, which usually talks about a victory when it's up this way. It talks about victory, it talks about things working out the way that we think they should. It talks about celebration of that victory, of actually seeing ourselves celebrating. But because it's up this way, I feel as though there's very little celebration going on at the moment, and very strong feeling that there is nothing to celebrate at this moment in time. That it's all kind of, the victory is not ours, that we are not in a place of being victorious at this moment in time. So in many ways we are still feeling this very strong oppression. On a global scale for the human race in general, I feel. So this victory is far away. It's not something that we're recognizing or connecting with. We're feeling the complete opposite. We're feeling as though we don't have anything to celebrate. And underneath in the subconscious realm here, we have the two cards of this card, Contemplation, which relates to the Hermit energy. So that makes sense, because that's where we're all coming from at the moment. We're all feeling very hermited and all kind of having to hide away. But on a kind of global, universal level, this is really the energy that's forcing us to look within ourselves and make this change as well. This energy here, the Hermit, again, it's upside down. Yeah, upside down energy here. So it's kind of saying, yeah, it is a reluctance, it is an enforcement, it is a enforced retreat in many ways. But it's like the universe is saying to us, you know, you have to go through this. You have to kind of see things for what they truly are, with this Queen of Swords here. I think that's what this energy is saying here, is that you really need to see things for the way they truly are. Because the sword here, she is upright, so she's in her power, and she is kind of saying to us, you know, use your discernment. Look deeply at things. Go deeper into things. Don't allow others to tell you how things are. Don't just take things on the surface, I feel as well, which is the Hermit here. Because the Hermit energy is very much about going down into the kind of questing energy. It's questing, it's kind of asking bigger questions, it's kind of, I always think of the Hermit in the sense of like the kind of the pupae or the chrysalis that kind of shrouds itself away in order for a transformation, a change to take place. It's that energy of wanting to just kind of have stillness and peace and quiet in order to think things through. Queen of Swords relates to the air energy. She can be Gemini energy, Libra energy, or Aquarius energy. So this could also represent the Saturn energy here as well. And like I was saying, we also have Venus just about to go retrograde for the next 4 months here as well. So the energy itself is very much about the intellect and the mind and the discernment. It doesn't have to be feminine. Again, the gender of the cards is not the issue. This is the Goddess deck though, which I'm using, and I'm using it because it's a full moon and I've had them for a while and I just thought it would be nice. So I used them yesterday and I'm going to use them again for the full moon coming up, or the new moon coming up probably. I will keep them for the moon energy cards. So you won't see any masculine energy in this deck, but that doesn't mean that it's just about the female, because we are all genders, both genders, within each of us. So this Hermit energy is in the subconscious, along with this energy here as well. It's kind of pushing us to reevaluate, rethink, relook, re-ask, ask questions. Don't just take things at face value. And the energy moving in for us, this card is called Balance, and it's the goddess Yamana, and she relates to the Temperance energy, and it's in reverse. It's moving in, and I feel as though this is going to be a time where we're going to start getting quite impatient about things, because it is the card of patience and waiting for the right time in many ways, of balancing up. And it does talk about the masculine and the feminine energies to me as well, and the uniting and the flowing of things together, of keeping things together, of kind of keeping the communication flowing, keeping the channels open. But it's in reverse here. So I feel as though there's going to be this period of time where we're all going to feel as though it's very kind of, we're all very cut off more than we are now. And it's going to get to a point where we're going to be really fed up, I feel, with the Temperance energy. Because Temperance, literally, you know, temperance, temper that energy, temper that that feeling, those emotions. But it's interesting how she has this energy coming out of her hands here as well. So it's almost like realizing that there, you know, we have more to us than just this kind of physicalness. That there are other layers. We are multi-layered beings, I feel as well, is another kind of another level of this card, the Temperance card herself. But it does talk about balance, a bit like the Justice card talks about balancing the masculine and the feminine energies within as well. But in reverse, it's kind of saying to me that there is going to be this imbalance. There is almost like a split or a divide or a kind of... yeah. I feel that kind of, you know, this divide, it's going to be this kind of, you know, some people are going to think like this, other people are going to think and do and want to act in a certain way that other people aren't going to be so approving of, shall we say. So those are the energies for that. And we've got the hopes and the fears here. We have the Empress in our hopes and our fears, which is all about abundance and the earth and kind of getting back, I feel. I've spoken about this a few times now, about how there's kind of, I feel this getting back to things that were kind of easier, a time of where things were, you know, we had more connection with our planet, with the earth, with the Mother Earth that gives us everything that we need. Feeds us, clothes us, everything that we need we will find here. So it also speaks of a growing awareness as well, I feel. A growing awareness. They're not just to do with like the changing of the seasons or the weather or I don't really want to say the words because I don't want my channel to get any problems. But all the things that are related to the disturbances on the planet, it's probably a good way of putting it, is kind of, you know, I feel as though those are part of the questionings that we're going through as well. Of just acceptance, or are we going to look deeper for ourselves at what the truth is, with this Queen here as well. And she came out with the card of the Fool, but it is in reverse. So the Fool is about trust. The Fool is about a leap into the unknown. In many ways, the Fool, it has no number. The Fool is 0, and the Fool is, or the Tarot story, the journey of the Tarot is the Fool's journey. And all the other cards depict experiences along that path, along the journey that the Fool takes. And so this, I kind of see this in some ways of the leap into the unknown happens before we even get here. As we come in as babies, we leap into the unknown. We don't know what's coming next. We have no idea of the journey that is about to unfold for us. But that's not the only time in life that we have to take these leaps into the unknown. And so it is like when we leap into the unknown, it is like we begin something again. It's like it takes us back to that point in time, and we don't like not knowing. We like to know. We like to have plans, we like to have everything sorted out, we like to know what's coming next, what's around the next corner. At least to a certain point, we like to have some idea of where we're going, what the journey is holding in store for us. But I feel with this card upside down that we are in a situation where we really don't have a clue. at this moment in time. It is our hopes and our fears. Both of these are our hopes and our fears. So I feel that the hope is that we are going to reconnect and find the abundance within and without of ourselves and start to really value the planet herself. And I call it a her. I see it very much as having feminine energy because of the fact that she creates, constantly gives, like female energy, in the sense that women give birth. They create inside ourselves. The earth is also that energy. It is the creative source of everything we have on this planet. And so this energy here as a hope is that when we take that leap, we're not going to leap into something worse, I feel, than where we're leaving. But the fear is also there. That the future, what is in our future, could be even worse than what we're leaving behind. And the kind of outcome, although nothing is ever set in stone, but the outcome for the reading at this moment in time is the Ace of Swords in reverse. The Ace is a new energy, but it's being blocked. I feel as though this is a new idea that is coming in to our awareness, but it is being blocked. It is being stopped. It is being held back. Almost like forces working against, shall we say, that are trying to stop the new from happening. Trying to stop the intellect and the thinking mind for being able to do so for itself. And you can see that happening as well. If you follow my channel, I have spoken about this kind of thing in the past. Because it's an air energy and it can relate to Gemini, it can relate to communication, it can relate to media. I feel as though this is what that energy is talking about. It's talking about being and I keep getting the saying, the pen is mightier than the sword, come into my head, and then it's kind of like, but not when it's misused. So I'm going to leave that there, because I think that I've probably said enough about that. And I'm going to move on and do some clarifying of this reading and see what we have come out for the Princess and the Two of Staves. We have just had the Mercury and Sun conjunction as well. Oh, let's have a look here. Which happened on the 4th of May. And it can kind of represent this energy, I feel, as well. This kind of Earth of the Sun energy in a way here. It's kind of representing the Sun, and this kind of representing the new idea that Mercury, being the ruler of Gemini, communication, and also kind of the messenger of the gods as well. Mercury has got this new idea, this new vision from the sun, having just literally conjuncted, just gone over the sun. And it's come out with the Seven of Pentacles, again in reverse. Another reverse card. There's quite a few reverse cards here. Seven of Pentacles is a feeling of not ready to harvest yet. That we haven't reached the point where we can actually accumulate our achievements or see the value of what it is that we are going through. I think that's what it's trying to say. At this moment in time, we're not able to see the value here because it's in reverse. And that there is this risk here as well of kind of climbing this ladder in order to be able to gather all of this together. But we're not seeing the value. We're not understanding the value of what it is that we are living through, if you like, of what it is that we are kind of... And I know that may seem really difficult and really hard to understand on a universal scale, but basically what is happening below is what is taking place above. So we have to kind of, in many ways, learn to accept that the time as of yet isn't ready for us to have that understanding, that knowledge. I'm seeing this as value of knowledge, of wisdom, of understanding. And growth as well. But we can't force this growth. We can't force the harvest. We can't force the... which is also to do with this fertility card here as well. When you plant the seeds, you have to give them time to become big enough in order for us to be able to harvest. But at the moment, we're not at that point. And if we try to rush that point, if we try to get too far ahead of ourselves, we're going to end up kind of having to go... Well, could also be to do with the retrogrades coming up as well, the fact that everything is going to slow down and go into retrograde, so maybe that's got something to do with this as well. And by the end of May we will have 4 planets retrograde, 3 outer planets and 1 inner planet, Venus. So this could be that we're having to reevaluate, rethink, take another look at things. But I just get the feeling that things aren't ready yet. We don't understand the full story or the bigger picture. In order to be able to harvest, we can't rush out there and gather the crops in when the crops aren't fully grown. Or you can, but you're just not going to get the harvest that you want if you do so. So, in our head, and what we're aware of with this 6 of Cups and the, whoops, on the floor, something dive. We have the Lovers. And the thing about the Lovers card is it's not just about sexual love, it's also about choice. It's about why. Again, I feel it's more to do with value. This could also have something to do with Venus going retrograde for 4 months of our lives. So from July right the way through to August, Venus is going to be retrograde in Gemini. And this could somehow also relate to the rose tinted glasses that I was talking about previously as well, of how we're going to kind of still be yearning for what we're losing, for what's passing, for what's kind of moving on with this Tower card here as well. This wanting, this desiring, this kind of I also feel with this card that there's a sense of trust here, because these two kind of have this real, there's a kind of feeling of trust with it, with the two of them, the way that he's holding her and looking up at her, and the way that she's kind of, her head's thrown back and she's just completely trusting him. So there could be elements of that here as well, that we are having to kind of trust that what is going to take place is the right thing for us. That it is going to be the right thing for us. But I don't think it's going to be I don't think it's going to be quick. You've got two major arcana cards here. Also maybe with the Tower and the Lovers here, we could also maybe, with the Venus retrograde as well, be learning about our choices. And there could also be a lot more people who are going to walk away from what they thought was lifelong relationships for them, but it may not turn out that way. And that doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing either. Endings of relationships don't always have to be bad, but this Tower is kind of saying that there is this energy of I just feel kind of breakthroughs with relationships, breakups with relationships, maybe even some people coming back together again in relationships because of Tower moments, kind of bringing them back together and them realising the value of what they've had. But I feel that the next 4 months, because of Venus retrograde in Gemini, it's going to be very strongly influenced in our lives. Relationships are going to come up quite strongly for everybody, and especially if you've got any planets in Gemini, and especially if you've got Venus in Gemini. That will definitely play out, especially also as the moon's node, the north node, is also now in Gemini, which I also talk about in my other video, my astrology video. So we've had the Page of Cups pop out for what is moving away from us. Page of Cups relates to the water energy. Staves relates to fire energy. It can be Aries, it can be Sagittarius or Leo, and the cups can be Pisces, Cancer and Scorpio. But I feel with the Page of Cups that he has more of a kind of Cancerian energy about him. With the Page of Cups there is always a kind of innocence. especially when he's upright. A kind of innocence, kind of longing for something to love, I feel, with the cups, because it's emotion, it's about the heart, it's about our desires. I feel it's also about people not necessarily wanting to be on their own as well. People are searching and trying to find that person that they want to give that cup to. But it's also an energy of kind of learning to love yourself as well, which is something that's very strongly happening in this time as well for people who are on their own and don't have the what's the word? The company, shall we say, the company of somebody else. It's kind of looking after yourself, learning to love yourself, take care of yourself in order for you to be able to then take care of somebody else as well. Because if you can't take care of yourself first, which is not an easy energy for, or easy thing for the water signs in particular to do, or people who have very strong water placements in their charts. And before I go any further, I will say there is going to be a description, a natal link in the description box down below. That's what I was trying to say. For anybody who's interested in checking out their charts and finding out how much water you may have, or fire, or earth, or air in your astrological natal makeup. The water signs in particular, because they are water, because they're fluid, because they flow, and this is a kind of energy of, it could relate to this full moon type of energy as well. Although I don't feel that that is so much the case. It's more the fact that this could relate to the moon itself, to do with the emotions. What am I saying here? What am I trying to say? Okay, because water is fluid, it tends to want to just go and just kind of fill up the vessel and kind of be part of it. Water becomes a part of whatever you put it into. It will take on that form. And water people tend to kind of have that energy. They tend to kind of want to take care of others before they take care of themselves first. They're kind of pulled in that direction. So other people become more of their focus, which isn't always a good thing, because they tend also to not nurture and care for themselves and their heart as well. And maybe that's something that we're learning at this time, is that we do need to look after ourselves and take care of ourselves first. Feed the well, and then the well can feed everybody else. So down below, well, that was quick. That was very quick. Down below we have the Queen of Swords with the Hermit energy, contemplation, and we now have this Judgment card here as well. And the Judgment card is about hearing the call. It's about hearing something on a different level, about kind of realization of something different in your life. And you can see here that there are these kind of two naked people down here, these two human beings who are kind of being called to be released, It can be to do with rejuvenation. But I feel it's more about bringing up kind of the ghosts from the past. I always think of the Judgment card as the card releasing the past, which is really what this energy here, this Scorpio energy, again, is saying at the time of this full moon. It is about releasing what no longer works for us in order to be able to kind of go to another level. It's like a bit like the Fool card in the sense that you can't take your past with you. You can only heed this call if you're willing to let go of what you don't need, the baggage. And that could also have something to do with this Hermit energy here. Letting go, seeing through things, cutting out things that no longer work for us. And the Hermit, I often feel, also has that ability to cut through things, because the Hermit can also be seen as kind of carrying this scythe which he uses to cut away what's no longer working for him. Because often when we go into a period of the Hermit energy, it's because we need to kind of really look at something very deeply, very intensely, to really kind of work out our next step in life, if you like, our next, where's the path taking us. Usually after a period of time when you thought you knew what you were doing, but all of a sudden you're kind of in an area that you're maybe not recognizing, or you didn't kind of expect to find yourself in. You kind of go into this Hermit, more withdrawn energy. And you can use this kind of sword, intellect, the mind, to kind of look at things, discern things. But here with this Judgment card as well, it's saying that this is a higher, what is happening, what I'm feeling here is what is happening to us globally at this moment in time is a higher calling. It is about something that is raising the bar, I feel, on some level. And are we up for it? Are we prepared for it? Are we spiritually as well? There's a spiritual aspect to this, hence the kind of angel type wings, and also the shape here as well of this face of his helmet. It's very heart-like to me as well. So it can be an energy of kind of shifting in a way out of the more physical realm and into another kind of way of understanding things, looking at life. And that in many ways we're all being called to do that at this time on a deeper subconscious level. And Scorpio is all about the subconscious. It is about the instincts. It is about the intuitive realm, the deeper feeling, emotional, knowing something, not knowing necessarily why you know it, but knowing that you know something. And I feel that this is also that kind of energy, that you know that you're being called for something bigger, something beyond your day-to-day existence. This is the universe calling. And it's kind of saying, are you ready to answer? If you hear that calling, are you ready to answer? do you kind of see the bigger picture? Okay, so Temperance, the energy that's moving in. Why do we have Temperance? We do have quite a few major arcana cards here, and we've just got another one, which we already have down here, and they're both in reverse. So there is this reluctance to take this leap into the unknown. So it's like our hopes and our fears are going to kind of materialize into our physical realm, but they're still kind of materializing in the sense of we don't really have all the answers here. We don't really know what we're doing here. We can't, because we can't harvest. And I feel again like this is, you know, knowledge, wisdom, understanding in the physical realm. And so we are just kind of having to trust in some ways in the bigger, higher energy, the higher calling of something that's going to take us on a different path, but we don't know what that path is. And again, with this kind of split here as well. And I feel that each side is going to kind of somehow look at the other one as though they're the fool. They are the fool, not themselves, but the other person. But it is the journey of the fool. If you see here, he literally has all these kind of, like, he's literally got all the signs, I'll turn it up that way, the signs of the zodiac around him. So he understands the fool is not really a fool, he just plays the fool. The fool, many years ago, the jester was probably the most important character in a king's court, apart from the king. It was the jester that the king would really turn to in times of needs, because the jester had knowledge, wisdom and understanding that nobody else had. But he played the fool. He played this role, so nobody really knew that behind this charade, behind this kind of garish, bright coloured, stupid looking outer facade, there was this real intelligent, very in tune, very knowledgeable, somebody who had studied all of the more deep, esoteric, arcane arts, shall we say, things like astrology, philosophy. He was very, very educated, the jester. He was not just a fool. And so on some level I feel as though we are kind of playing out that role, or we're being asked as to which role are we going to play. Are we going to play the fool that has no real knowledge? Or are we going to realise that we do have all this kind of innate wisdom and understanding of life? I'll just have a quick... Yeah. So he doesn't really, like, if you see carefully here as well, he kind of has this look of somebody who doesn't know much at all. It's hard to see in the camera. But he's holding the moon. It looks like he's holding the moon. I think it's actually the sign of Cancer that he's holding, which is kind of related to the moon, so maybe that's what I was picking up on. But there's this kind of, yeah, this intelligence that doesn't necessarily show itself. And I feel with this card of Temperance here as well, in reverse, this kind of divide, this, because Temperance always has to keep the flow of things going in order for there to be any relationship, in order for there to be any kind of communication backwards and forwards, or to actually exist within a relationship. So I do feel on some level that there's a bit of a kind of a double-sidedness here. Because this, I feel like, as I said earlier, there's this split, but I also feel with this Fool who has two sides to his character. But that could also be to do with the kind of duality again I spoke about yesterday in my astrology readings, and I've spoken about it previously as well, this kind of duality of energy. It's kind of especially as we've got the Fool come out twice, I think that the Fool is quite an interesting character. It is about trusting our innate nature. It is about learning to understand or trust from a deeper level. And I feel that that's what this is about here as well, is trust. We're being asked to trust in something that doesn't necessarily seem to be what it is. Trust the journey, trust the higher calling, trust in our innate instinct of what's going to happen and that everything is going to turn out okay. Trust that the destination that we are going to take, and we're talking long term here, we're not just talking about to the end of the year or kind of even to the end of next month. I mean, this is, I feel, a lot bigger than just that story alone. But this kind of takes, you know, this is the leap into the unknown that's going to begin the new journey. But there is this kind of reluctance. There is this kind of, because we don't necessarily trust ourselves, because we're not brought up to trust our instincts and our feelings and our innate knowing of things. But that is something very much that the Fool does. He trusts his own understanding. And like I said, the Fool has great wisdom. So the Queen of Pentacles has come out in reverse. In our hopes and our fears. The Queen of Pentacles is a visionary. It's a visionary energy. It's an energy of seeing beyond where you're at. It's an energy of holding a dream, a vision, something very that you feel very strongly about, that you have a lot of fire and passion and you want to put creative energy into it. But again, it's in reverse. I also feel as well at the moment that this energy is connecting with our lower chakras, with our root chakra, solar chakra, and our sacral chakra, which are all kind of related to survival and scarcity, which could also have something to do with both of these energies here as well. It is in reverse. So it could be kind of coming through as this kind of disconnection. Disconnection from our grounding, from our planet, from our connection with the earth. But the Queen of Wands has vision, like I was saying, and she does not give up on that vision. She's incredibly loyal, the Queen of Wands. Once she's kind of passionate about something, it takes a lot for her to kind of give up on it. Even I feel when it's in reverse as well. She still doesn't want to give up on something. She still has this belief. Fire energy, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. Very visionary, very passionate. Very strong belief. And this may be that we are kind of being tested here as well, because it's in our hopes and our fears. And we are kind of testing ourselves with this energy, with this kind of loyalty to a vision of something better, something creative, being loyal to ourselves, to what it is that we love, being loyal to our heart, Leo energy, courage. But there is this kind of, and also with the Chiron energy that we're having at the moment, with everything that's in Aries, Chiron, Black Moon, Lilith, which I also talk about in my other video, the healing side of things as well, which could also relate to the like sacral, or the three lower chakras. I feel that's kind of what's coming through, and it came through for me yesterday, I think it was, or the day before. Was it yesterday when I did the astrology? Yeah, it was yesterday. So there is this drive, there is this kind of forward passion, but there is this kind of block here as well at the same time, or a reluctance, a kind of spark to our dream, to our maybe not wanting to bring something into reality for fear of, like I was saying, going down that wrong path. So maybe there's also this holding back at this time. But it does relate to survival and scarcity and the way that we view the world in many ways. I think that's what it's saying here. Try and stay positive. Try and see the bigger picture. Again, Sagittarius energy, bigger picture. Leo energy, courage of the heart. And also Aries energy as well, courage, Mars. Strength with Leo too. Strength to see something through. And so the final, I'm not taking that, the final card here to go on the Ace of Swords is going to be energy for the Ace of Swords. Energy for the Ace of Swords. Where is the Ace of Swords here? Where is the Ace of Swords here? What is the possible outcome of this Ace of Swords? Again, to do with feeling the blockage. Okay, the Nine of Swords, which together gives us the Ten of Swords. So it's like there's all this anxiety and stress and fear and worry and not being able to sleep, staying up at night, worried about what's coming next, how are we going to survive, scarcity, which is quite a big thing that's going to start coming out, I feel, as well in the media, is more feeding the fear. Media, fear. That's what I feel. The more you listen, the more fearful you become. The pen is mightier than the sword, but not always. It can be used or abused. It can be used to help, it can be used to kind of bring hope and optimism and kind of keep people in a positive place, or it can be used to do the complete opposite and to feed fear. And I feel that that's what this is saying here. But as I was saying, 9 plus 1 is 10. So this ultimately is saying that this is going to be finished. That this is going to finish. That we are reaching a conclusion here. Even though we may not be aware of it, we are reaching a conclusion. And I do feel again that it's up to us. And I think that maybe that's also what this is about here. This here. Are we wise enough to not buy into? Again, it's a splitting of energies. It's like, you know, are you going to feed the fear or are you going to feed the positive? That's kind of what I'm feeling here as well. With this energy here, it's like we have the ability to take it two ways. We can feed it the negativity and believe everything that we're told, or we can kind of feed the positive and know that things are not necessarily as they appear to be, which I think is what this Fool card is saying as well. And that we can switch off, turn away, not allow ourselves to go down this path of worry and stress and negative, like the mind just constantly going over the same things over and over and over again, which I feel is very much the news at this moment in time. Everything is all about this. Fear driven. Fear, fear, fear. You have to live in fear. And of course, when we live in fear, we are so much easier to just control. And that's when the pen is not mightier than the sword. So that is the main part of the reading for this full moon in Scorpio. I am just going to pull a Ask and It Is Given card by Esther and Jerry Hicks. I haven't pulled these cards for a long time, and I thought it would be nice to do so. I also, because I'm feeling very strongly this kind of magician manifesting energy around at the moment, and I think it's going to be around for quite some time with Venus in Gemini and the moon's nodes in Gemini. And if you listen to my video that I did yesterday, I kind of go in and do a bit of a spiel about the whole magician thing and where I think it's coming from and what I believe it is about. So you might want to check that out, to give you kind of a deeper understanding maybe of the energies that are going to be in play over the next 4 months in particular. So a card, please, to finish this reading, the wisdom of Abraham, Jerry and Esther Hicks. And if you don't know who Abraham Hicks is and Esther and Jerry Hicks, Abraham is a entity or a consciousness that is channeled through Esther Hicks, and Jerry was her husband. But there's lots of videos out there on YouTube if you want to go and check them out. They are well worth it. They'll give you a lot of positivity and give you a different way of viewing the world. So if you haven't already checked them out, I would recommend doing so. Right, I do think that one turned over. Let's see. Did you turn over or not? Did I just imagine it? Nope, it turned over. Oh, interesting. Okay, so we got the card of why is it taking so long? And I think that this is kind of us standing here waiting for this. It's almost like I feel on some level that we are all aware of this calling on a deeper level. It's like on a deep subconscious level, we all know that something is taking place. Bigger, I feel, than what we're kind of fed into. A lot more people are kind of becoming aware. And so I feel that on some level this is us kind of standing here saying, you know, when is it happening? When is this change occurring? Why is it taking so long? And the card itself says, the only reason, take my glasses off for a few seconds, the only reason you have not already received what you desire is because you are holding yourself in a vibrational pattern that does not match the vibration of your desire. And that could very well relate to this card here as well, with our hopes and our fears. That as of yet we're not ready to hold ourselves in a vibration of what it is that we want for this new world. Because we're only just coming round to realising, you know, that it's even happening. And it's not time yet to kind of have that realisation and that kind of understanding. So that's a wisdom from Esther and Jerry Hicks, is that the vibrational pattern, and this can be to do individually and collectively as well, that we're not kind of in that vibrational pattern quite yet. And again, it's a bit like the 100th monkey syndrome, which I talked about briefly on my video yesterday. So we also have the Namaste blessing card here, and we got two for this reading. We got your blessed power, which kind of, I don't know why, but it has for me a kind of similar feel about it to this Fool energy here. I don't know whether it's just kind of this, reminds me of this branch here, and he's kind of jumping over it here, and this heart, and just kind of, I don't know why, it just kind of had a similar look to me for it then. So, your blessed power, you are a field of endless possibility with unlimited power to create. Every atom of you is full of abstract potential that can be moulded into any form. Every particle of you holds the blueprint of creation. You are a force of nature and a great blessing on this earth. That is a fantastic Namaste blessing card. And very, very kind of succinct for the reading, I feel, as well. I do feel that this energy is about our potential, but us not being ready. Our potential is not ready, but it is there, and we are kind of becoming more aware. And so this card is known as a crystal clear blessing. Looks a bit like Ganesh to me. And it says, you are soon blessed with great clarity. Your destiny is calling and your soul is shining. It's infinite wisdom. You are blessed, protected and guided in all you do from this moment on. So both very beautiful cards. I'll show you the other side of them as well. Nice to take forward. And lastly, we have, let me just grab my book, we have Azurite, which has come out recently as well. And it is also known as inner guidance. It's very purple. I believe it relates to the third eye chakra. Yes, it does. And it is known as dark blue or kind of indigo sky blue. I can't remember who had this card, but it came out quite recently. And it is, yeah, inner guidance. What you see with your physical eyes appears to be real. Often, this reality is only an illusion. Discerning the difference depends largely on insight. That's what I think this is about. Discerning. As I was saying earlier, we need to discern here, with this queen here as well. Discernment. What is the truth and what isn't? And it is in our subconscious, so it is about insight. Insight is a precursor to wisdom. Your intuition is one of the most valuable tools at your disposal for discovering the truth. Deep within the cavity of your brain is a cave of inner wisdom. Its position behind the eyes symbolically represents that which is seen with the inner eye. That is the location of the third eye chakra. Our offering to you is connection to insight, the ability to see clearly and accurately. Insight is sight focused inwardly, which could also be relating to, as I was saying earlier, this hermit energy here with this Queen of Swords, this insight. Insight is sight focused inwardly, trusting and relying on your inner guidance. Azurite operates like a tuning fork that equilibrates and balances the third eye, the place of clairvoyance or clear seeing. But beyond the third eye, we connect with higher chakras outside the body that assist. I think that's what this is also about, that calling, that kind of outside the body, higher energy. That assist humans with a link with divine consciousness. Yeah, that is the divine consciousness energy. This link facilitates the ability of clear knowing, clairsentience. Clairsentience is a confirmation of the truth surrounding any issue. I do feel that very strongly, that this is about the truth. And this is also about the truth and not buying into what isn't true. And being discerning and knowing the difference. And I think that's what this card is about here. Is knowing the difference. Being patient with ourselves as well, because we're still learning. I think that's also what this is saying. We are still learning, so be patient. Don't see it as just being foolish. Where was I? The place of clairvoyance or clear seeing, but beyond the third eye we connect with higher chakras. No, I've done my bit, sorry. Clairsentience is a confirmation of the truth surrounding any issue. For example, you may wonder whether or not you should proceed in a certain direction or trust a particular person. That double upside down fall energy here as well. We're really being asked to go beyond and trust in our innate knowing. With this inner truth at your disposal, you are always equipped to move forward with guidance to take whatever action is needed. Are you trusting your intuition? Are you taking the time to tune in? To intuit means to go into it. The it is yourself. It may take some practice to quiet your mind and locate that hermit energy. And locate that, where are we? Sorry. That quiet, deep place inside. But once you do, answers will come effortlessly and quickly. Trust your gut level feeling. That feeling is in the solar plexus, is tied directly to your third eye, the place of clear seeing. And I think that's what I was getting here, the third chakras, the solar plexus. Apparently it's connected also to the third eye. So it's kind of when we get that feeling, we know it. We feel it in our gut. When you feel something in your gut, you are getting a physical response to and a confirmation of your inner knowing, your intuition. If you have drawn this card today, you are making a request to explore the true source of your knowing, your intuition. You may be seeking assistance in making some important decision. Take a look at who is guiding you. Is it your inner self or other influences? Rely on your insight to help resolve any confusion you feel. And I think there's a lot of that at the moment in time. Focus your eyes on the dark blue of our card or our stone body. If you look intently, the blue may begin to swirl like vortexes, pulling you deep within yourself. Our colour and the colour energy of your third eye chakra are the same. This is an example of the outer world reflecting the inner, not just in colour, but with the same energy and purpose. As above, so below. As within, so without. We extend an invitation to you to travel the narrow passages back to the cave where revelation and understanding are one. Here is a place where you may escape the outer world and find a quiet refuge within. This is the place of answers, of inner knowing. It is definitely this kind of hermit energy that is being forced on all of us. But it's given us a time out to get to know ourselves better, I feel, in many ways. The pineal gland in the brain, located near the third eye, is connected to our work. Little is known about this gland. It is a sacred spot in the body, opening the door to the hall of the Akashic Records. The Akashic Records is a repository, an ancient chronicle that holds the history of all humankind, of all beings kind as well. Every event in each entity's life is recorded. The knowledge of all time is there. It is a library of experience. We can help you open the door to the Akashic Records so that you may gain insight into your history. From this information, what you learn about your past events will shed light on your present and your possible futures. There is a condition under which someone may approach the Hall of the Akashic Records. One must enter with a pure heart, vowing to use the information gathered there for the betterment of the whole. If this tenet is disregarded, you will forget the information you have gained and it will be lost to you. Always on ready reserve for you is a depth of wisdom that will guide your steps truly and steer you to the right course. This is not a time in your life to ask for the opinion of others. This is a time to go within and gather your own sacred tools of wisdom. Using inner sight, you can see clearly from a soul perspective, and decisions can be reached easily. Along with needed answers and information comes a sense of peace regarding any action you need to take. Acting on your intuition allows spiritual inner guidance to be translated into insight. With insight, you access mental clarity and understanding of any situation. Again, that's what I feel that this is about, the mental realm, the logical thinking mind. Very Gemini energy. Like the depths of the bluest oceans, the calm, still waters of your soul will lead you out of uncertainty to the place of inner truth. Always let insight precede action. And that kind of ties in with this Fool card as well, because I feel that the Fool is all about inner knowing, kind of insight, intuitive, innate kind of trust in something bigger than himself. But he also knows that he's connected to whatever it is that's kind of guiding him. There is no disconnection here. And I think that's again something that we need to kind of reconnect with and learn for ourselves as well. And we're not going to learn it by trusting the people that we listen to, who are feeding us constant fear. So on that note, I'm going to finish this full moon in Scorpio reading. So thank you very much to all of you who have watched it, listened to the end of it and stayed with me. Thank you for thumbsing up any of my videos in the past. Please do it with this one as well, because it can really help get it out there into the bigger YouTube world. And like I said, then more people can come back. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please also do so. I will greatly appreciate that too. And tap that bell so that you can get future videos. I will be putting more out in the future. Over the next few days or so, there will be more coming out. And also, in these difficult times, please look after yourselves and also look after anyone that you are able to look after at this time. Thank you very much. Hopefully see you back soon. Take care.